Right, you're all good.
Welcome to Tater Talk. I am your host, Justin Ledger, and as always, I am joined by Zach Hummel. Zach, how are you?
I'm actually a little banged up today. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So if any takes that come off are crazy, I can't. It's my brain. It's mush at this point.
Well, it's worth noting that we're actually recording this on Sunday during the day, not Monday like we usually do. So that is an explanation as to why you would be banged up. So,
Yeah,
and it's a very nice day. It's actually been a really yesterday was kind of crummy, but today's a really nice day out there. I'm sure people are day drinking today too. So if you were banged up tomorrow, if we were to record on Monday, I wouldn't blame you for that either.
yeah. Just put an asterisk next to this episode for me.
Yeah. Okay. Graz is here too. Don't forget about Graz. How are you?
Good. I'm feeling good. I got my Hawaiian shirt on to go day drink after this. So
yeah. I mean, we were just talking about how nice the weather is, and then we look at Graz and he's got a Hawaiian shirt on. So that's, I mean, you guys can't see it. The listeners can't see it, but that sums it all up.
Graz, from the moment we've met each other and I saw you, I knew you were like a huge Hawaiian shirt guy. I could tell.
Yeah, and even better is it's not my Hawaiian shirt. Everyone knows you have that one friend that you kind of trade clothes with, and this is his shirt. It's got a bunch of parrots all over it. It's a good shirt. People like it.
That's actually a really nice Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. And is that a Nintendo undershirt?
No, this is my Wiffle Ball Championship shirt.
I thought it was the Nintendo logo. It looked like it from the top.
There's only one thing in the world that I'm really good at, and that's Wiffle Ball. And everything else I'm kind of okay
at. Yeah. Well, I miss playing wiffle ball. Those were the fucking day. I haven't played wiffle ball since I was probably like 14 years old, and now it's just like life is meaningless without it.
Oh, two-time intramural champion you're talking to.
Oh,
yeah.
Ross.
Humble brag.
What was your strength?
Brag.
Just pure power?
No, absolutely not. What is it? 12-6 curveball. Starts at your eyes, ends at your ankles.
Wow. What other pitches do you have? Was it just like you had a nasty curveball? Do you have like a knuckleball or anything like that?
Curveball, you throw a little knuckleball, and then you throw the riser, which is important. And then if you throw the curveball right, you can get it to go over someone's head, but then still hit the strike chair behind, and it's practically unhittable because it's literally over the person's head.
How do you guys like do walks in wiffle ball? Do you guys do walks, or you just do pitch until like
count resets? We usually do.
Yeah.
6 and then count reset, or 6 and walk.
Got it. Because I was going to say, we had a wiffle ball league, and there was this person who thought he could throw a riser, and he would just chuck it like for 40 straight balls, and it would just rise. It would go like 20 feet above your head, and it was the absolute. You can't play with people like that.
Dude,
call to the bullpen.
That's the worst part about wiffle ball, having a kid pitching on the other team who like thinks he can throw all these pitches and can never throw strikes and just trying out all this shit. It's like, dude, at some point, just put one over the plate. You know, we got to get the game going.
Yeah, that is definitely everything about a wiffle ball except that is fun. That when you have, and it's like 90 degrees out, you're sweating your ass off. Just throw a fucking strike, dude.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Oh man. All right. So I guess we'll just jump into the topics here, starting as always with our favorite stories from the week. If this is your first time listening, this is how we start off our shows now. It's just favorite stories from the week. We recap, and then we'll get into the sort of, I guess you could say, subtopics later. Starting with you, Zach, what was your favorite story from this past week?
So I totally missed this video that went viral. I guess there was a goose that ran on the field during one of the Tigers games, and it flew straight into one of the terrace scoreboards. Is that correct? And it knocked itself out into the stands itself. Luckily, it was a Tigers game, so no one was there. So it just fell onto the concrete, and it didn't hit anyone. But the moral of the story is the Tigers have been on fire since that goose, and they're calling it the rally goose.
Rally goose, yeah.
Yeah. So the Tigers have been 4-0 since, that event happened. It's one of those, if you can see it on Twitter, it's like one of the funniest videos I think of the year from MLB, because they just follow this goose and then you don't know what's going to happen. It just hits the wall. Just terrible.
Yeah. It's actually funny you mentioned that, because this is my favorite story of the week too. And I watched it because I saw it all over Twitter, and I actually missed it in real time. So I just caught up with it this morning. And I'm pissed that I didn't see it as it was happening, because I saw all the hype about it, but I was too lazy to click on a video about a goose. I didn't think it would be as funny as, that everyone was making it out to be, but it did live up to the hype. This goose was hilarious. And what made it even funnier was the commentary, because they were so calm. They're like, oh, there is a goose on the field. It is running. It's flying away now. Okay, so the goose is flying away. Oh, and it hits the like. It was just the whole thing was perfect. So, and I'm glad actually this wouldn't be my favorite story if the goose wasn't okay, because I'm a sucker like that for any sort of animal that hurts itself. So when the goose kind of just plopped back right up and got taken care of afterwards, I was happy to see that. So the whole thing was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many like can't miss videos, and that was definitely one of them. Because, like you said, I thought it was just okay. There's a goose on the field and it flew away, but then the camera panning to it, it's flying away, and then it just stops because the goose hit the wall. Is like that's like comedy at its best.
Yeah, for sure. Graz, what was your favorite story? You got one?
Yeah, I got one. My favorite story of the weekend comes from the coolest baseball player on the planet, Max Scherzer, getting a pinch hit and then scoring the go-ahead run, proving that Max Scherzer and his crazy tri-colored eyes or dye-colored eyes could do anything.
We say this every week, but he's a psychopath. There's nothing that Max Scherzer can't and won't do. And this was last night that this happened, right? Saturday night. So 14th inning, Max Scherzer comes in, pinch hits, and gets a fucking single out of it. I mean, it's again, you can't. Max Scherzer it's a little late at this point, but he's becoming my favorite player just based off how crazy he is and just how good he is. And he's officially taken over, in my opinion, as the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, so those were our favorite stories from the past week. We mentioned the goose hurting itself, and a lot of players hurt themselves this week. A lot of good players hurt themselves, stars. So we will start with Noah Syndergaard, who was placed on the disabled list, just continuing the Mets' misery. The Mets actually lost yesterday being Saturday, on a start that DeGrom was just dominant. And they've done that to DeGrom a lot this year. So even when they do have their good guys on the mound, they don't seem to get it done. And now they're without Syndergaard, who is on the DL with a strained ligament in his index finger. So this sucks if you're a Mets fan. I think if you're a Mets fan, you had hope for about a month and a half, and that hope's out the drain. You're back to being Mets. The Mets are Metsing. It's official. Yeah,
I mean, KFC from Barstool has canceled their season, so that's when I usually mark it as the Mets are over. They're a dumpster fire. And another funny video from this week, there was a legit like dumpster fire inside Citi Field.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That they had to put out. So I mean, that's the perfect metaphor for the Mets as an organization at this point.
Yeah. They're done. I actually thought they were going to be pretty decent this year, the way they started off the year. I think they were the second best team in baseball for like the first couple weeks of the season, right behind the Red Sox. They were on a tear, and everyone was saying, oh, Mickey Callaway, he is the answer. And he's actually made a fair share of mistakes this season. So nothing's really changing in Mets land. And apparently nothing's changing in Red Sox land either, because Pedroia is back on the DL with the knee inflammation. He said, I think it was the day after he came back, for his first game this year, he said he had a terrible day, meaning he was feeling pain in his knee again. I don't know. I think Pedroia is going to be out for a while again by the looks of it. And then you have Mookie Betts on the DL with a strained left abdomen. So that sucks as well, because Mookie Betts was the best player in baseball. And if he's out for an extended period of time, I think the panic meter starts to rise if you're a Red Sox fan.
Yeah, the Pedroia one was weird. Like I've had knee problems too, so I'm sure he's going through a ton after the surgery. But you know, they gave him enough time to recover, more than enough time, and now he comes back and he needs to go right back on the DL. So there's something fishy going on there. And the Betts injury is more concerning to me, because it's one of those things where they thought it was day to day, he'd be back in the lineup, then it's turning into a couple more days, and that's usually bad just because it's usually something worse that hasn't been diagnosed yet. So hopefully he's all right. That abdomen injuries are weird. Like I've never experienced one, so I don't really know the recovery time, but it seems like it would almost be like a hamstring where it's just like it always is bothering you when you're doing anything athletic. So definitely trouble for the Red Sox there. Luckily they've had a couple other players step up in the last couple games, so hopefully that continues.
Yeah, and they flat out cannot afford for Mookie Betts to be out an extended period of time, because there isn't enough depth on this team to make up for the lack of Mookie Betts in the outfield. Especially, I mean, they're deadlocked with the Yankees in the standings right now. I think the Yankees have played less games, so it's a little weird looking, the standings right now. The Yankees, by the way, are going to have a terrible second half with all the makeup games that they're going to have to play. That's going to be a grueling second half. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, the Red Sox are without Mookie Betts for much longer, to be honest. They can lose some ground in the AL East. I think they're in the fourth game of a tough series against the Astros, and they're down 2-1 in that series. Kind of to be honest, it's like a dick measuring contest between the Red Sox and the Astros right now to see who is going to be there at the end. And I think the Astros are far, like, it doesn't show record wise, but I think they're far and away better than the Red Sox. Never mind with Mookie Betts in, but without, I mean, it's a no brainer.
Yeah, I mean, this series has proven, like, that's why I like when the Red Sox actually play good teams, because you're not playing the Toronto Blue Jays of the Baltimore Orioles of the world. You actually get to test yourself against the teams you're going to see in the playoffs. And I think it's clear, even if as a Red Sox fan, that the Astros are far and away better than them at this point.
Absolutely. So next up, I mean, this one sucks. I actually feel terrible for the guy, Clayton Kershaw. He's having back issues again. Third straight year that this guy's having back issues. And he came back off the DL. He actually had bicep tendonitis, so it was an unrelated injury. Comes back, pitches pretty well. His velocity was down, but you got to expect that from anyone who's returning from the DL as a pitcher. But he actually pitched pretty well against the Phillies, and he hurt his back again. I think it's back tightness that they're calling it right now. He's going to have an MRI on it, but this just fucking sucks. As a baseball fan and as someone who has been a fan of Clayton Kershaw, watch him go to work for a while now, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I have him on my fantasy team, and I was so happy to get him back. And then this happens. Like, my fantasy team is screwed now. He's back.
I feel like
did you hear that anxiety in my voice? Like the anxiety in my voice, just like I want to stop thinking about it. Like I almost want to stop my season right now and just stop worrying about what I'm going to do with my starting pitch.
The past probably month and a half, you have talked about your fantasy team, like just the worst things have happened, because I think each time one of probably 90% of the duds that we've mentioned for the past month and a half have been on your fantasy team, and you've been like, yes. I don't know what's going on, and it's like been duds, and people have gone on the DL have just been on you, like that's unfortunate. So yeah, Kershaw on the disabled list. The Dodgers were just starting to heat up too, but they started heating up without Kershaw. So what do you think about the Dodgers moving forward? Do you think they maintain the pace that they've been on these past couple weeks, or do you think they go back to being the Dodgers that we saw in like April?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like they're almost doing what the Tampa Bay Rays were doing. They're like throwing relievers to start games. Like Ross Stripling has now become a starter for them, and a couple other guys. So their bullpen's been taxed, and they've gotten through it. So I think it's more that their lineup's picking up. Kemp's hot. Chris Taylor's starting to come around. Turner's back. So if they can, like, they beat the Rockies 12-4, they don't need great pitching if they can score 8 to 10 runs a night. So I think it's more important that their lineup picks it up rather than trying to keep teams, under 3 runs. I think they need to win with their offense.
I agree. Next up here, last but not least, Alex Reyes, 23-year-old prospect, number 1 prospect for the St. Louis Cardinals. He, like Kershaw, returned after, I think he had Tommy John surgery. He's returning from Tommy John, makes his first start in the major leagues after dominating the minors, and he strains his lat. Now he's back on the DL. So with Alex Reyes, it's just setback after setback for someone who's supposed to be one of the more exciting young pitchers in baseball. First, it was, I think, weed. He got caught with weed or something, and he was suspended because of that. So his 2016 debut was delayed. Comes back, needs Tommy John surgery. So now, like, his career is delayed even further, and now it's delayed even more after this injury. So Alex Reyes for the Cardinals, they're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see his full potential. Yeah,
just you hate to see it, especially with young players have these injuries, but I dislike the Cardinals, so I feel bad. I feel bad for the kid, but I don't feel bad for their team.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page there. I think they're getting Carlos Martinez back anyway, so they should be in decent shape moving forward. And they keep hitting walk-off home runs, the Cardinals. I actually bet against them. I bet against them when, I don't know if you saw that game when the Pirates, they were leading 8-5 in the bottom of the 9th, and then the Cardinals scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 9th to win. And I bet Pirates in that game. So fuck the Cardinals. I share that same sentiment with you.
Yeah, they've won a lot of close games recently.
Colton Wong actually hit a walk-off last night too. So I think he's hit like 3 walk-offs for them this year. It's insane. moving on here, actually, with some good news in the pitching world, is Madison Bumgarner makes his long-awaited return. I think on Tuesday he's coming back, and this is huge for the Giants. They're only 2.5 games back in an NL West division that it's pretty tightly packed right now. So Bumgarner being back, I think, helps that team become honestly a contender in that division. The way things are looking at this exact moment.
Yeah, I feel the same way. He's coming back right at the perfect time. They're starting to play a little bit better, and Longoria's starting to hit, and McCutcheon's starting to hit after they both kind of struggled to start. So those will be important cogs moving forward for them. But Bumgarner is a huge upgrade over what they're throwing out there right now, as their pitching staff goes.
The pitching staff's absolutely their weakness. So it will be interesting to see how Bumgarner affects them moving forward. And I think this is kind of a metaphor, I would say, for the way Bumgarner and Kershaw's careers have been these last 3 years. Bumgarner returning while Kershaw goes on the DL. Bumgarner's stock rising while Kershaw's dips. And I'm not expecting the Giants to make a playoff push or anything like that, even with Bumgarner coming back. But if they do, I will be so psyched for playoff Bumgarner. I need, especially in like a wild card game or something, if they somehow squeak their way in there, which I don't think they will, but that would be so awesome to see. All right, so that's enough injuries to talk about, except we have a catcher who was hurt by an Anthony Rizzo slide. So Diaz, I don't know the guy's name. He's not a very popular player. It's Diaz for the Pirates. He was hit by Rizzo, questionable slide. It was a very debatable slide. Some people calling it clean, some people calling it the dirtiest play you'll see. So there's a lot of debate to be had there. But long story short, Rizzo completely intentionally slides into Diaz to break up a double play. Benches actually, I don't think they cleared or anything at the time. I think a lot of Pirates players considered it a clean slide in real time, and that's what it was called on the field as well. Then a couple of games later, a player in the Pirates, I actually think it was their pitcher, Joe Musgrove, slides into Javi Baez, and then the benches clear. So first off, what do you think about the Anthony Rizzo slide? Was it clean, or did you consider it a dirty play?
I've seen it like a bunch of times, and I'm still sort of on the fence. I don't think Rizzo is as clean of a player as everyone thinks he is. He does have this kind of clean-cut image around Major League Baseball as a good guy, and I'm sure he is, but he's also a gamer. So for all of these stories about slides, I mean, you should see some of the slides that went down in like the 90s. Like people were getting cleated daily, breaking up double plays, and you don't really see it nowadays. And when you do, the shortstop or second baseman, Baez stared down the pitcher, and the pitcher just was trying to run back to the dugout. Musgrave for the Pirates. So I think it's more on the infielders making a bigger deal about this. It's almost like a soccer player flopping. Not that the infielders are flopping, but they're making more out of this than it has to be. I mean, just make the play at the end of the day, because God knows Javi Baez is going to slide hard into second base,
absolutely,
trying to make up a double play. So I just don't like anyone trying to be a hardo about it, really.
Yeah, it's the Buster Posey rule, for sure. When you look at it from a catcher standpoint, they're overprotecting these catchers. They're overprotecting big name players. So that's why Javi Baez was pissed off, because he probably considers himself a big name. And if you slide into a big name, then they're going to get their panties all in a bunch. But ever since the Buster Posey incident, they've been very overprotective of these players, kind of giving them the ability to, I guess, the runner doesn't have much of a choice. I mean, if it's going to be a double play, the runner they can't slide in. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You're trying to break up a play and be clean, but it's very difficult to do that. Both of those things at the same time. So, and then we had another incident in the Angels-Rangers game a few games later. This was actually, I think, last night or 2 nights ago. So what happened there was Rougned Odor slid into Andrelton Simmons, one of the smoothest fielding shortstops, if not the smoothest fielding shortstop in the majors. And the fact that Rougned Odor, it actually surprised me, because if anyone did that to him, God forbid, I mean, there would be a brawl in 2 seconds, a much bigger benches clearing issue than there was in this game.
Yeah, I think there's more and more evidence out there that Rougned Odor is a hothead, and maybe even going to the fact that he's a dirty player. But like you said, as I stated with Baez, if someone slid into Odor like that, he would freak out and probably punch the guy like he did to Batista.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Yeah, it's just one of those things. And Simmons, I don't think he made a huge deal about it. Odor was, I think he's just frustrated being on the Rangers. They've had a bad start. You know, they were a winning franchise. So we get into the dog days of summer, and these guys really just blow up over nothing. And I think it's more frustration and people struggling more than we need to look at the rules of the game. I mean, shit happens. I mean, it really is. I mean, these are humans. They're not robots. So emotions can get into it.
Yeah, and speaking of Simmons, he's someone who has turned into not only one of the best defensive shortstops in the league, but he's turned into one of the better all-around shortstops in the league. Past couple of years, he's been unbelievable. When he was on the Braves, he was known for his glove, and suddenly he can hit too. So Andrelton Simmons is a name that I hope a lot of people start learning, even though he is stuck with the Angels, which never really helps when it comes to being a big name. You know, in a market like that, it's not that easy to be a household name, but I hope he does because he's that good.
Yeah, like you said, baseball lifers and people that follow the game closely know him, but he's starting to need to be known as a household name now that he's hitting the way he should be, you know?
Yeah. And one household name is Yu Darvish. And Darvish, I don't know what's going on with this guy. I know he's been on the DL a couple times for legitimate reasons. I mean, he's been hurt, so can't really blame him there. I mean, if you're hurt, you're hurt. But Yu Darvish, there's something wrong with him mentally. And I think we saw a lot of that last season when he made that playoff push with the Dodgers. He shit himself in the World Series. And I know that happens to players, but with Yu Darvish, you just knew something was going on in his head there because he got absolutely rocked. I think in two World Series starts against the Astros, I think 3.1 innings pitched. This is off the top of my head. I think he let up like 9 runs. So that is a whole different level of bad. So there's this question of whether he can live up to the pressure. And there is pressure with the Chicago Cubs. And the reason I'm saying all this is because his teammate, catcher Chris Jimenez, told the Chicago Sun-Times that he thinks Darvish thinks the fans hate him. So what is your take on this? I'll give the quote in a second, but what's your immediate take on Darvish? Is he a mental midget?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I don't think Jimenez would come out and say that if it didn't have a little bit of truth in there. And it's just one of these things, like if you're going to these big market teams, which he's played for, the Dodgers, the Cubs, like fans are going to react to every single thing you do. And if you can't handle that, I mean, we experience it in Boston and New York. There's some players that just can't handle it. And if Yu Darvish is one of them, I mean, then he should seek out a smaller market team. And it's one of these things, I almost think it's surrounding these Japanese players that come over. I just don't think they're used to, being under the microscope so much. And as we saw with Ohtani, he said he didn't want to go to a big market team. He wanted to sort of stay in a smaller market so he doesn't get the spotlight. I think some of that can be said for Yu Darvish as well.
With Ohtani, we shit on him, I know, and we rightfully so. I still think he should have gone to a bigger market, but maybe he had sort of the right idea. Like maybe he prevented, like he knew he was a mental midget in a way. So he was like, I want to prevent being bad. So I'm going to go to a small market. That way I know I'll be good. Like I don't really know what went on there, but with Yu Darvish, you're right. Like he should probably go back to playing in like a market like the Texas Rangers or stuff like that. But unfortunately, the Cubs are stuck with him for another 6 years. So hopefully he figures out his act if they can't trade, because he has a huge contract. I think it's like 130 mil over 6 years. So it's going to be tough to part ways with that if he keeps struggling the way he has this season. Even when he hasn't been on the DL, I think his ERA is upwards of 5. So that's not very good for a guy who is supposed to be an ace. Here's the quote from Chris Jimenez. He said, quote, I think he thinks that Chicago hates him for going on the DL a couple of times. I've tried to portray to him, listen, they're going to love you when we get to October and we're doing the things that we all want to do here. You're the main reason we're doing it and we're riding you all the way through it. He reads Twitter. He reads all that stuff. We all do. Honestly, I know it upsets him, and rightfully so. So first things first, delete your Twitter account. I mean, if you can't take fans shitting on you, fans shit on you when you're good. I bet Mookie Betts, for some reason, has hate mail right now for being on the disabled list. You just got to shut that shit down. And I don't think a lot of these athletes, including Yu Darvish, know that. I think you can't be on social media and expect everything to be positive just because you're perceived as a bona fide ace. You can't, because there's always going to be negativity.
I was talking to one of my friends about this and why and how. It was more towards the NBA, because every NBA player and team is like on Twitter and they're active and they have burner accounts and all this shit and they want to see what people are saying about them. Dude, if I was making that much money and I was that talented, I wouldn't need social media, and I definitely wouldn't check it if I had one. It would just be to promote whatever I'm promoting. But the fact that players like Yu Darvish with a $140 million contract is checking Twitter to see what the fans think about him, dude, pitch better. It's like the David Price thing. Just pitch better and focus on what you need to do at the ballpark, and everything else will fall into place. It's one of those things.
Yeah, I was going to mention David Price too. And those two aren't the only ones. There's a ton of athletes who are just mental midgets because they can't stay away from social media and they feel the need to respond to what everybody is saying. And it's so fucking stupid. Just mind your own business. You get paid so much money. Just use social media for your ad deals. If you got to post a quick ad on there and make even more money than you already have, which is so fucking unnecessary, but that's a whole other story. And it's that. And two, just talk to girls. Those are the only two things that you need to do if you're a pro athlete with millions of dollars is post your ads and talk to girls in your DMs. Those are the only two things athletes should be doing, unless they're not mental midgets and they can actually handle it.
Yeah, just have a Twitter account and don't ever tweet. Just have your DMs open. Your only tweet would be my DMs are open.
Exactly. Yeah. If someone that's something Alex Bregman would tweet, I think Alex Bregman is not a mental midget, and I'm using Alex Bregman as an example because he is such a douchebag and he's already had issues with DMs, but he can at least handle it. I think. If you say a bad thing about him, he'll slide in your DMs and call you a fucking idiot. Which I'd rather a guy like that on my team than a guy who's gonna crumble under the spotlight and have a 5 ERA. So. These athletes need to, I don't know, either shut social media down completely or get their head out of their asses and just be better. So that's my take on Darvish. And I think he will be better. I think starting off in a big market like that, it's always tough no matter who you are. He just needs to get healthy. And I actually believe Darvish will be better down the stretch, especially now that this has become a bigger story. And now he knows. I think he's been made aware by this being a national story that he's got to figure it out mentally, for sure. So Darvish has underachieved. I think that's safe to say, both last year with the Dodgers and this year with the Cubs. But he's not the only one. We have a lot of underachievers, and we also have a lot of overachievers, guys who have exceeded expectations. So we're going to talk about a few of those guys. I'll start with the overachievers here. Now, I know you have a couple too, so let me know the ones you have. But I'll start here. I think arguably the biggest overachiever this season has been Matt Kemp, especially this past week. What he's done with the Dodgers has been outstanding, and no one saw it coming. When the Dodgers traded with the Braves to get Matt Kemp back, everyone thought it would be a move that they'd end up releasing Matt Kemp right before the season or trading him to a different team. Right? No one thought Matt Kemp would be on the Dodgers. Never mind contributing at this level. So Matt Kemp is my first overachiever so far this season.
Yeah, Matt Kemp was on my list too. And some people didn't even think he was going to make the team on a spring training. So for him to do that, and it's looking like 2012, 2013, Matt Kemp again.
He's leading the National League in hitting right now, which is crazy.
Yeah, so my first overachiever is a guy that we talked about earlier. It's Andrelton Simmons. Obviously, everyone knew about his defense, but his bat was always in question, and he's really come around with that this year, and it makes him the 5-tool player that everyone thought he would be. So Andrelton Simmons with the Angels, I think, is definitely an overachiever, and I think he has staying power, while some of the guys may not. Like Matt Kemp, it could be a flash in the pan at this point in his career, but I think Simmons is here to stay for a good amount of time.
Exactly. My next one is Nick Castellanos for the Tigers. He's having an outstanding year, very quietly outstanding year, but he actually might. I don't think he will, but I think he has a chance to start on the AL All-Star team. If not, he's going to be on the All-Star roster. So Nick Castellanos, while he isn't a household name, and we don't know really if there's staying power there, but he's shown flashes before, and it looks like he's put it all together with Detroit so far this year.
Yeah, he's on my list too. He's been great. The Tigers are actually playing well with his insane with the pitching and hitting that they're putting out there. For sure. Mine's, I think we featured him on our Twitter account. He had a great complete game outing. Mike Fultonavich from the Braves, highly touted guy coming out of the draft. Was in one of the trades from the Astros to the Braves, and he's been great for them this season. I mean, he throws absolute gas, but now I think he has actually learned how to pitch and use it. So Fultonavich has been great for the Braves this year.
Yeah, someone tweeted that it was the best. I think it was a Braves beat writer tweeted that it was the best pitching performance, the one that you were just talking about, from someone on the Braves since the Hall of Famers, Glavine, Smoltz, and Maddox. So that's some heavy praise. And I think you're talking about staying power. I think there is with him too, for sure. And he's become one of the more fun ones to watch. Based off the fact that not only does he have his velocity, which reaches upwards of 100 miles per hour, he can also locate it. So once he learned to locate it, he's become a legit threat, almost Syndergaard-esque, I would say. Next up, I got Scooter Gennett. We've talked about him a bunch. He's become, I honestly want to say, a star. I'm not quite ready to call him a star, but he's getting there for sure with the Reds. And I would expect him to be traded at the deadline if the Reds are smart. Just based off the value that he has. But Scooter Gennett has been outstanding for the Reds, better than Joey Votto even, which is insane. So Scooter Gennett's the next overachiever I have here.
Yeah, I heard some MLB writer said that, oh, he's just putting up good stats on a bad team. And I said, this isn't the NBA where, like, you just get shots up. Like, you're supposed to face major league pitching every day. It made no sense. It made no sense.
It's a hot take.
Yeah, I was like, okay, hot take on Scooter Gennett. Like,
yeah, good job. What did I get? Like one retweet, like probably from his like other account, his burner account.
Probably his burner. Yeah. So I just had two more. I'll just do them quick. Two pitchers: Aaron Nola from the Phillies, another guy that I think has staying power, has been great, and then Charlie Morton from the Astros. He's in the Cy Young.
He's the definition of an overachiever, Charlie Morton.
Yeah, and he's pitching tonight, so he'll be in prime time again versus the Red Sox. So I think it's another chance for people to see like how fucking good Charlie Morton is.
Yeah, those are good ones. My last two are Nick Markakis, having a career year at, I think he's like 34 years old or something. That's just a guess, but I know he's getting up there. He had a couple good years with the Orioles, but nothing like this. He's an all-around player this season, so Nick Markakis has to be on there. My last one is Eddie Rosario of the Twins, who's been probably their best offensive player this season. So that's another guy who I don't think anyone even really knows about, anyone expected to do anything this season, and he's been really good for the Twins this season. And one of the major reasons why they're still in this AL Central race, because they've had a lot of issues this year. Buxton's back on the DL, if you want to talk about guys going on the DL. So they need Rosario to keep this up. Whether he will or not, I don't know. But so far, he's been by far their biggest bright spot. Underachievers, I'll start here with Jason Kipnis. He has not done much this season after having a really good year last year. He's, to me, the definition of just an inconsistent player. You never know what you're going to get out of Jason Kipnis. And I know he dealt with injuries, I think 2 years ago, that might still be holding him back slightly. But what we've seen out of him this season has really held back the Indians. And that's a reason why the Indians haven't ran away with the AL Central yet.
Yeah, it's not even that he's he's actually hurting them with how bad he's been. But he's got a pedigree, so I could see him getting a big hit in the playoffs. I wouldn't be totally surprised by that. My first one is Gary Sanchez from the Yankees. I think after everyone was on the home run watch last year with him,
as Graz shakes his head.
Yeah, like this year has been undermined. And like, I'm not a Yankees fan, and I would probably want them to start Gary Sanchez if I was a Yankees fan, just because he's got the potential to be this like 30 to 40 home run guy from the catcher's position. Yeah. But I like Austin Romine is playing out of his mind behind the dish. So there has to be some decisions made there at some point, because Sanchez is like, I think he's hitting 200 or sub 200 at this point, and he's not providing a bunch of extra base hits. So he was hitting home runs, great, but he's sort of lacking in that area too. So Gary Sanchez underachieved for me this year.
My next one is someone who's absolutely underachieved by their standards, but has heated up recently, so there is hope. Paul Goldschmidt. He might be the number one underachiever so far this season, because he's year in, year out, he's been like the number 2 MVP guy, number 3 MVP guy in the National League, and he is not even close to that this season. I think he's hitting like 210. He hit a couple homers this week, so he looks to be getting back on the right track, but damn, I mean, Goldschmidt's had a terrible season so far.
Yeah, I'm in the same linking as Goldschmidt, in that they were struggling and they're starting to heat up a little bit, as Marcelo Zuna. He signed, he went to the Cardinals Everyone thought he's going to be the middle of the bet order, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs kind of guy. He was with the Marlins. He hasn't been the power guy. His average is starting to climb up there. He hit a grand slam today as we record this on Sunday. So he's beginning to heat up a bit, but I think Cardinals fans had a little bit higher expectations for him coming in.
Ozuna was the next one on my list too, and I was going to mention the grand slam. He's been heating up as well. So I think he homered yesterday too. So if the Cardinals can get him going, look out for them in the NL Central. They could start heating up soon, especially with guys like Carlos Martinez. I think Yadi is coming back as well. I have two more here. Kyle Seager has been a shell of himself with the Mariners, which that's another reason that I'm amazed with the Mariners and how they've been holding their heads above water and then some this season. I think they're tied right now with the Astros in the AL West, which is fucking insane.
They're for real. Like I told you last week, you had the quote on our social media channels, and they've gone on a run. I think they're finally listening. That's a good one.
It's ridiculous.
So my last two ones are pitchers from the Mariners. Felix Hernandez. I mean, he's underachieving based on what he's done in the past, but at this point of his career, he's lost his velocity. He's cooked. And then Tanaka from the Yankees. I think he's sort of underachieved as well. He's not the ace anymore that the Yankees had for 1 to 2 years. He was good in the playoffs last year too, but this regular season he's been absolutely hittable. Even with the Orioles, kind of basted him the other night.
My last one is Cody Bellinger for the Dodgers. In his rookie season, he's a classic case of pitchers needing a scouting report on the guy. They need to figure him out. And in his second year, they have figured him out, it seems. He is getting his home runs. I think he has 8, which, I mean, it's not great for him by his standards. I think he hit like 45 last season or whatever, like close to it. So he's not even close to being on that pace this year. And I know he's striking out a ton. So Cody Bellinger is my underachiever. You just had to think there was going to be a regression there, and there has been. So it's an expected underachiever, I would say. That's how I'd classify him. I didn't expect him to have another outstanding year. But it is weird that Cody Bellinger has been this, I guess you could say, mediocre so far this season.
Yep, definitely.
So that wraps that up. Graz, do you have any honorable mentions?
Some honorable mentions, both Yankees, actually, because, Yankees guy. I don't know how you said Tanaka, not Sonny Gray, for underachieving, because I'm a big Sonny Gray guy. And then he's kind of not been as good. He's fine. He's doing fine, and I expect better. And then on the opposite side, overachieving, and I guess you guys probably expected this, is Luis Severino is unbelievable. And I didn't expect him to take another step forward where I feel like every time he pitches, I'm like, oh, that's a win. I don't even need to watch the game.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to give up 2 runs. They're going to hit 3 home runs. They're going to win 5-3, and that's the game.
Yep. I mean, if it weren't for Severino, where would the Yankees be pitching-wise right now? They'd be kind of fucked.
I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, it's not a good situation. No. But Severino has been holding the Yankees together, and I think the Yankees are a half game ahead in the East, even though they played less games.
Played like 5 less games. We're going to get killed. Coming up soon. I'm ready for it.
Some optimism from Graz there with the Yankees. All right. So we will move on here to more underachievers with our duds, and then more, I guess, overachievers with our when you're hot, you're hots. So we'll start with duds of the week. I'll start here, and it's someone that you, Zach, mentioned on your underachiever list, Gary Sanchez. Last week, he is the last 7 games, I should say, he's 1 for 20 with 8 strikeouts, 0 home runs. That is not good. Sanchez needs to be hitting home runs. That is the reason why the Yankees have him and put him in the lineup, and it's not working out. So first, Graz, just general thoughts on Gary Sanchez this past week. You can get your anger out right now if you want to.
I just don't understand how he's not hitting the ball. Like, he's a fantastic hitter. He is supposed to be the best hitter in this lineup, like all-around hitter, like not just power. Like, I can hit to the opposite field, and he's got to figure something out. I don't know what it is. I've been watching it, and I've been the big defender always because I look at you guys and the Red Sox, and I look at the Mets across the bridge, and I'm like, I can't imagine living in a world. Well, let me rephrase that. Devin Mesoraco is unbelievable out of nowhere again.
Really
I don't understand that. Yeah. Sandy Alderson, GM of the year, give it to him. Not really. But
don't do that.
Don't do that. He's got to figure something out. I'm almost getting close to not defending you anymore. But Austin Romine isn't the answer. He just can't be. He's just not.
How much did it hurt you to watch Christian Vasquez hit an absolute bomb last night versus the Astros and see Gary Sanchez go 1 for 20.
Christian Vasquez hits one big home run a year and then fades into existence.
No, yeah,
what was that, a year or two ago? I went to the game at Fenway, Yankees Red Sox.
You mentioned that,
yeah, and
Betances, the Betances homer.
I'm off Betances, and I'm like, who is this guy? And then that's his like third home run of the year, and he hits 5 for the year, and I'm like, oh yeah, Gary hits 35.
There was a stat with Vasquez. I think he's hit 9 homers in his career. I might be a little wrong about that. I think it was 9 homers in his career. I think 7 of them have been ranked as the game for that game that he hit the homer in, the most important home run, or the most important hit, I should say, or the second most important hit of the game. So Christian Vasquez comes up big in these random big spots, and it's hilarious.
Has anyone like cockwalked a home run more than Christian Vasquez for not hitting home runs? Like he just
no, but if you knew like you weren't going to hit a home run for another 500 at bats, I think anybody would do that. It's just, you want to make that moment, like you want to live in that moment.
Yeah, and like you said, they're all pressure situations, so he gets amped up.
Yeah, I just looked. He has 8 career home runs. Get the hell out of here. Gary Sanchez will figure it out. Oh my God. Get the hell out of here. Now I'm upset with you guys. I don't care about 1 home run. The Astros by 1 million tonight. You heard it here first.
What's the matchup tonight? It's Morton versus
Porcello, I think.
Okay.
Oh, you might be right. By 1 million.
Yeah, you might be right. Who's your dud, Zach?
So my dud, he's been a dud all season, but the last week has been rough for him. It's Lucas Giolito from the White Sox. So he was the big piece coming back to the White Sox in the Adam Eaton trade from the Nationals.
Yep.
Again, a guy that was a first-round draft pick, had highly touted 6'6", 230. He's been absolutely terrible so far this season. He's 3-6 with like a barely sub-8 ERA, and this week he got shelled again. So that deal is looking better and better for the Nationals at this point.
Sure is. Even though Eaton's been hurt, but I mean, at least he's good when he's healthy.
Yeah, if he can get on the field and give them anything, it's Giolito's again hurting his team more than he's helping them at this point.
Definitely. When you're hot. Zach, I'll let you start with this one.
Yeah, so we brought up this guy, so I won't speak a lot on him because he's been great. But Matt Kemp, he's
all right.
Mine. When you're hot, you're hot. I mean, I just speaking about my fantasy team again. I just picked him up, so I don't know how he was available in my league, but we're gonna ride Matt Kemp, and knowing my team, he'll go 0 for 14 like after I pick him up. So we'll see. Well,
we have a unanimous when you're hot this week because mine is Matt Kemp with 3 homers, 450 batting average, and a 1.478 OPS in his last 7 games. Matt Kemp is the unanimous when you're hot for this week.
Yeah, what can you say?
He's been ridiculously good. Mailbag, Roz. Do we have mail?
Yeah, I got a couple mail for you. Right. Do you guys remember how fun it was when Matt Kemp was like by far the best player in baseball? And now
you remember how fun it was when Ryan Braun won the MVP over Matt Kemp and then immediately got caught with steroids?
I don't think Matt Kemp would have liked that, but they did the cool boxing thing with him and Prince Fielder. That was awesome. People love that. They had the boxing celebration. What am I asking? Oh, I'm asking you guys questions. Okay, here you go.
That's right.
This one comes from my friend. Very simple question. You guys are in tune with baseball more than most people, as am I. Do you, and quote exactly, do you guys give a shit about the MLB draft this week?
No. And I think that's a major problem in baseball too, is that no one cares. Well, first off, these guys, most of them take like 5 years to actually get into the major leagues. That's a big reason because no one cares about who's going to be good 5 years down the line. The other I was actually talking to someone about this the other day, is why isn't college baseball more popular? Because it's fun to watch. I've been watching it the past couple of days, and it can be pretty electric. That dude at Mississippi State, I don't know if you guys saw that yesterday. They were down. Mississippi State was down 2-0. Kid comes up with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th and hits a 3-run bomb to win it. I mean, that was an awesome moment. So I have beef with college baseball not popular. I have beef with just these young guys coming up in the MLB draft not popular. And it's honestly, I mean, people like me are at fault for not paying attention to the draft and making a bigger thing out of it. But yeah, no, I don't give a fuck about the draft. Long story short. Yeah, I'm with you on college baseball. I've been following UConn, obviously, and they just won right now over Coastal Carolina. So they're going to be playing versus Washington to see if they can get in the super regionals. And like
I don't know anyone on the team or anything like that, but it's just fun to watch, especially if you have a rooting interest. And I think the big part with MLB draft is what you said. You don't see these players for 4 or 5 years. So you almost just have to take a mental picture of them and remind yourself when they come up. But I think it's the same thing with the NBA draft. When the players were coming straight from high school in the NBA draft, there wasn't enough buzz around. There would be people going from high school and just never playing in the NBA because they just panned out. So
yeah,
I think players got to know each other in college and people got to watch them in college. I think if the MLB draft made, high school kids go to college for 2 years, I think more people would take an interest in one, college baseball,
definitely.
and two, the draft.
Oh my God, Bryce Harper, if he had to go to college for a couple years, I know Bryce Harper already had the hype, so he didn't necessarily need it, but I'm using him and his example as an example here. But watching Bryce Harper with an aluminum bat in college would be must-watch television.
That's what I'm saying. Like Ben Simmons didn't have to go to college, but he had to because of the NBA, like the NBA rules. So
yeah.
College baseball thing. When your college is in it, I was interested in it, and now I'm not because BC's bad again. Secondary thing, your college baseball stat of the day that I heard. Did you know that back before they uncorked the back, LSU hit 188 home runs as a team? They play like 40-something games.
That's actually
188 dingers.
That's a lot of taters.
That's so fun. But why? All right, example. Why isn't it more popular then? If it was that crazy, why isn't it more popular?
Oh, I watched it as a kid all the time.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because they
was that
5 home runs a game.
There was that Gross. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna let you plug your video game idea that we talked about before recording this. I'm gonna let you plug that at the end of the episode because I'm gonna talk about a video game here. That's why it popped in my mind. So, do you guys remember? It was EA Sports that made it. That college baseball game with the dude from the Texas Longhorns on the cover. I don't know who it was, but it was like MVP baseball, but it was college edition. That game is so under the radar good that I had to bring it up because I had so much fun playing that. I don't know if you guys ever played it, but it was awesome.
No, I never played it.
God damn it. All right. Well, scratch
MVP 07 baseball?
I think so. If it has the dude from the Texas
Yeah, it
Longhorns on the
does.
cover.
I found it. Yeah,
So-
that's a real thing.
So they wouldn't have their names, right? It would just be their numbers.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh,
I mean, I
MVP
think it was similar to NCAA where they had the likeness. Like they had, it was the same guy, but they just had the numbers. Which is still one of the dumbest things. Like that I mean, we all know who it is. Just put their name there. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Johnny Manziel football one is unbelievable, but that's a different sport for a different day. I'm all in. Okay, next question. I'll plug my video game later. Great. It's my one last thing. Okay.
All right.
This comes just to you, Justin. Zach has told us that he is a Mariners guy. They're tied for first place. Are you a Mariners guy now?
No.
Join the bandwagon.
No, I made a decision at the beginning of the season that I was not going to fall into the Mariners trap, and I'm not going to go back on my word. I can't do it. Once I take a side, I have to pick that side. I am anti-Mariners. There's no way that they keep up this fucking pace without Robinson Cano and without Kyle Seager doing anything. Kyle Seager's hitting like 220, and they're still mashing. It makes no sense. I know, like, Mitch Haniger's good. Fucking who else? I can't even think. Ryan Healy, that's your next best offensive player. Nelson Cruz, obviously. I'm not going to bring him up because
Gene Segura.
Okay, Gene Segura has been pretty good. That's a valid point.
D. Gordon's playing pretty well too.
Is he though? I think he's hit it like his OPS is like 690.
I'm looking it up right now.
But anyways,
no,
so
it's not that good. Yeah, it's not good.
D. Gordon's not very good. I mean, Gene Segura has a good point. I kind of forgot about him. Gene Segura, good. Robinson Cano's gone. Your only pitcher is James Paxton, and then you have like a bunch of maybes after him. So I don't know. I can't buy into this hype, and I wish I could because the prior 5 years I was all aboard the Mariners bandwagon. I have a Mariners hat right over there. Right over there, I have a Mariners hat because I was so in on them. And the second I say that they're gone, they're back. So I don't know. I have to be out.
So I was out in Seattle in March and I did a tour of Safeco and I felt something a little bit different in the air. I'm not gonna lie. something changed. I'm not gonna say it was me rubbing off on them, but the Mariners are hot, and my first time in Seattle, I visited the field. So coincidence? I don't know. You guys.
So do you guys think that they are like? Do you guys think they're the wild card team, like one of the wild card teams? Do you think honestly believe that?
Yes.
In your heart of hearts, you're like they are one of the. They're gonna compete in the wild card game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I would take them over the Angels right now for sure.
All right.
I would not, but I just like seeing you get upset. So that's why I asked
Okay.
the
The main
Angels.
reason I'm upset is just because the one year that they're looking awesome is the one year I say I'm out. So I'm a walking jinx, and it just sucks.
Going along with that, just a follow-up question for both of you guys. We have this theory in my friend group called Ewing theory, where so that when the Knicks made it to the finals in '99, Ewing got hurt. And there's always something to teams that where their best player is out of the lineup or out of the way that they rally around. Do you think that has something to do with Cano being out, where they're like, oh shit, we all have to start playing better?
Apparently. I mean, I have no explanation for it other than that. So I'll go with it. Yeah, I'll go with that.
I love that theory, but like at the end of the day, I would rather have Robinson Cano in the lineup. Yeah.
Robert Cano does help. Okay, to make Justin even more mad with this even more ridiculous question on the follow-up. So the Mariners are tied for first place, meaning that technically Houston is the wild card team, and it would be Houston going to Fenway. So in this crazy hypothetical, you're Houston. You're throwing Verlander in that wild card game, right?
Yes. Yeah. His ERA is like 1.2. I think you have to. Even though it's either him or Garrett Cole, in my opinion. Because Garrett Cole's been pretty dominant too.
I don't think Verlander has great numbers against the Red Sox all time. I could be totally wrong there.
No, you're right. You're right. I don't think he does. I think there was that, especially that one start that kind of skews the numbers when he was on the Tigers. I think he let up like 8 runs in 4 innings or something like that. So that definitely plays a part too. But I think I'd still throw Verlander out there. He pitched really well Saturday night against the Red Sox. So I think this is his year. I actually picked him as my AL Cy Young before the season. So I'm kind of hoping he keeps up this pace.
Graz, question for you. If it's Yankees Houston, does Houston throw Keuchel because they know he just has the Yankees number?
Keuchel no longer has the Yankees number. Also, you cannot in any way decide to throw a goddamn left-handed pitcher against the New York baseball Yankees. That is a dumb decision to throw a lefty. Oh, yeah. There's 3 right-handed bats. And this is assuming Gary Sanchez remembers how to play baseball again. And then Greg Bird can hit lefties and Didi can hit lefties. That lineup's unbelievable against left-handed pitching. You throw Verlander. Also, Verlander went like 15 consecutive innings without giving up a run to the Yankees team that's averaging like 8 runs a game.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's impressive.
Yeah, I think I throw Verlander. Do we have any more? But I don't think that's going to be a problem. Yeah, I got 2 more questions.
Perfect.
2 more questions.
Hit
okay.
Hit us with them.
Nesson, your guys' favorite station.
Oh my God, I can't get enough.
Had a report that Johnny Damon is a Yankees fan. Are you okay with that?
Fuck Johnny Damon. You know what? Fuck him. When he went to the Yankees, that was my attitude too. Like I'm done with Johnny Damon. I'm done with him. Thanks for 2004. I don't really care about you anymore. When he cut his hair, that was freaky too. It was just not the same. Just not the same. I read his book. And he came off like kind of an asshole in that. I read that when I was like 13. I'm like, I don't really like Johnny Damon anymore.
Yeah, Johnny Damon strikes me as someone that's not the most sane and stable person. So him liking the Yankees would make sense, I guess.
There you go.
That hurt me a little bit. That's fine. We're going to move on. I'm going to battle through this pod. Okay, here's one from your friend, Justin, that I didn't ask last week. Prime Larkin or Prime Lofton?
Prime Barry Larkin versus Prime Kenny Lofton.
Yes.
2 completely different types of players.
I'll
go with Larkin. I really don't have the stats in front of me to back it up. I'm going to go with Larkin. I just have that gut feeling that he was a better all-around player.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kenny Lofton just because I don't think I ever saw Barry Larkin play, and I at least saw Kenny Lofton.
And Kenny Lofton played for like all the major league teams, so
every single one. Yeah, the only player ever in MLB history.
I'm going Barry Larkin here too, only because, and this is going to be a long-winded answer. You know, I'm a big Reds guy. Big Reds guy.
Yeah, huge.
And they compare him to other Reds greats. Like, he's like, oh, he was as good as like Johnny Bench and Pete Rose. And I'm like, if you're getting in that conversation, you have to be good, even though I didn't really see him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and his son is on the Celtics. Little known fact. Not many people talk about that these days.
Do you mean Big Shane Larkin? Former Net. I'm a big Nets guy as well.
Yep, that's right.
That's all the questions I have for you guys.
All right, so that is the mailbag. And you mentioned, I want to briefly talk about this, or not briefly. We'll see where the conversation goes. You talk about the lefties versus the Yankees. When I watch, this just reminded me, when I watch Drew Pomeranz pitch, I want to commit suicide. I am at the level where I can't take one more Pomeranz fucking start with his windup. That it's just his little dinky windup with his little dinky curveball. Every single count is a full count. And he gets to the fourth inning. He already has 80 pitches. There's 5 runs on the board. It's like clockwork with this guy. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, Drew Pomeranz has absolutely no sack, and I think Stephen Wright should get into the rotation over him. He's been decent lately.
I would rather Stephen Wright, who apparently beat his wife before the season, in the starting rotation instead of dinky Drew Pomeranz. And that is saying something. So Drew needs to be out. He just has to be. I don't know what the fuck they're doing with this guy. Oh, it's like start after start. It's maybe Drew Pomeranz is going to figure it out this time. And then he does the same thing. He has 4 innings pitched, 75 pitches, 5 earned runs. It's fucking clockwork. Yeah. That's my Drew Pomeranz rant.
You should go to a Red Sox game when he pitches and just hold up a sign that says Pomeranz out.
No, I won't put myself Pomeranz out. I won't put myself through that torture with Pomeranz. I can't. It's the worst. He reminds me of Clay Buchholz. He's a lefty Clay Buchholz. That's
because like whenever I go to a Red Sox game, look who like is pitching, obviously. And whenever I saw Clay Buchholz, I'd be like, fuck, I don't want to go to this game anymore.
Yeah, they're the same guy. They're the same guy. One's lefty, one's righty. Same thing. Clay Buchholz, another gem for the Diamondbacks, by the way, this week. Doesn't make any sense at all. I hate this sport. Hate it. All right, Cross, plug your video game idea as your one last thing, and then we will head out of here.
This is my one last thing here. Okay, so everyone listening, we're going to figure it out, the best baseball video game character of all time. And I kind of know the answer to this already, but I'm interested in all of the rest that I can come up with. So if you're listening at home, please tweet in, call in any suggestions that you have. We will come up with our own list. And by next week, in honor of E3 being next week, one of my favorite weeks of the year, I will reveal a bracket with all of the names that we get. Depending on how many people we have, we'll see how big the bracket gets. But I can think of a lot off the top of my head already. So baseball video game character. And I told them, my good friends here on the pod before, it could be anyone from a real life player that used to play with on like an MVP baseball show to the guy that hits with a tree in Mario Baseball. All acceptable.
Anyone who has ever picked up a baseball bat in a video game or pitched in a video game.
Yeah.
Or ridden the bench in a video game. It could be anything.
Yeah.
All right. So you are going to have a bracket next week by next episode, and it will have all these players on it, just to clarify.
Yes.
And we're going to have it on all social accounts. That way people can look at it. And I think what we're going to do, what the plan is to have a poll out so people can vote, and then the bracket will work from there.
Yeah, and every week, very much going through, we will have like a kind of a debate and argument about it, and then we'll post the poll, and then hopefully by the end of the summer, we'll have an answer. We'll do like 2 a day, 2 every week.
I love it. I love the idea, and I'm looking forward to it. I think we do know who the winner is going to be, but I'm actually very interested to see the runner-up. I think that's going to be the interesting part, of seeing who goes toe-to-toe with who we think is going to be the number 1 guy. So on that note, I think we'll see you guys later. Does anyone have any final words?
Nope. Pumped to watch
final words?
Pumped to watch the Red Sox tonight in prime time. See what
prime time, Red Sox, Astros. By the time this comes out, this game will already have happened. Do we have predictions?
You heard mine. Astros by 1 million. Astros by 1 million.
I'm going to go, it's Porcello versus Morton. I'm going to go 9-6 Astros. I think it's going to be 5-5 heading into the 8th. And then fucking shit's going to go down in the 9th. Or actually, no, in the 7th, it's going to be 5-5. And the 8th and the 9th innings are just going to be insane. That's my official prediction.
Yeah, both teams have like pretty unbelievably inconsistent bullpens. I mean, the Astros especially.
Like, you never know what you're going to expect.
I'm going to go 4-2 Astros. I think
Martin
keeps us under wraps.
All right. So that's the show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. That's the big one. That's where you're going to get most of our content, on Twitter. So make sure you follow us there at Tater Talk Pod. And if you want to throw in a little extra in there, like us on Facebook, and call it a day. So on that note, we will see you guys later.
Send in your suggestions.
Do that.
Yep.